I like quad ruled. It makes me happy inside to have such pretty lines. So in my last video, I left off with a quote from the Launch Your Dream, where the quote basically said, if you can't control, your day, if you don't plan, you basically plan to fail. In gist. So I'm going to cover what I am doing to plan and schedule out what I need to do. And I've been using this technique for a while, ever since about halfway through doing the Swift with Shawnee series. I've been doing this. So basically what I use to help me plan everything out, plan my day, plan my life in general, is bullet journaling. For the longest time I was using my cell phone to plan everything, but I would always either miss something or I'd have my notes, use the note app and have notes in there, and then you have your reminder app, which has all your reminders, and you have your calendar, and just nothing was consolidated. So I decided to go old school and just do an organizer. Now I know there's a lot of organizers out there that you can buy that have everything set up. I like the bullet journal because I can customize it to however I need to customize it. I'm not set to one style, one method. So my bullet journal from 2 years ago is totally different from this journal today. So like I said, I've been doing this is my third year doing the bullet journal, and it's helped me so much as far as tracking what I do, my to-do notes, ideas, everything. So this brand is Leuchtturm 1917. This is the brand I like using. I love the colors. It comes in many different colors on the cover. I love how many options they have on the inside, the pages. So it comes in quad ruled, dotted. That's what I use because I like quad ruled. But it also comes lined. All the pages are numbered already, so you don't have to do it. So this one has, I think, almost 250 pages already numbered and everything. It comes with a table of contents in the very beginning, so you can write out, if you have ideas you want to refer back to them, you write them in your table of contents and you can go back. So whenever I start a new bullet journal, the very first page is my goals. So I write out my goals so that I can refer back to them. And then the very next page is my year overview. Actually, next 4 pages is my year overview. So I go to this every month, and if I have a deadline or I have an appointment, I can go back to my overview and add it for the month. So I've been doing this for a while. It does take a little time to set up, but it's priceless as far as keeping myself organized and keeping me in check. So those are the first 5 pages of my bullet journal. Another thing that I do, if you are going to do a bullet journal, or if you're going to do anything as far as tracking your goals and stuff, I highly recommend that you do an activity log, especially if you are trying to learn something on your own without something that tracks you. Because I know there's some courses that you take. Of course, courses will track your progress for you, so you kind of know how far you've gone. But if you're doing something on your own, learning something on your own without anything to track, having an activity log is awesome. Now, activity log without goals is just busy work. Okay, so make sure that what you're doing is in line with your goals, because what you do, if you achieve your goals, great. If you have a delay in achieving your goals, or maybe you set your deadline way too aggressive, you can look back over the month and say, okay, it's because of this, or maybe that topic was a little too hard to understand, I just need more time. So it's not necessarily an excuse, but it gives you really awesome feedback at the end of the month. And then after the year, you go through all your activity logs for every month and you realize, man, I've learned a lot. So it's like, it's really, really, really awesome. So again, that's what I do. So then I break down my month into weeks. So this is 1 week, actually slightly more than 1 week, because this was a weekend and I didn't really do much, so I didn't want to waste the whole entire page, so I just added it right there. But I do color my dates, my days, and then I keep it really open. I know there's a lot of bullet journals that are super busy and super colorful and pretty, but I am very plain Jane, and I like something clear that I can read. If it's too busy, it just annoys me. Like my first bullet journal, yeah, it was too much. It's taken me 3 years to get this nice and clean. And the reason, again, why I keep it so empty is there's some days or some weeks where I actually will write things out that I need to either track or that are ideas that I want to reference back to, so I'll actually write them in here. And then I only fill my month out, my current month out, and that's all I do. Like, this is after February, it's completely empty because I typically use the end pages at the end of the month for notes if I'm studying something. So there's basically the end of the month here, and then I will use after the month to actually write my notes. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't, but I like to leave it open-ended because I just do, and I know what works for me. So that's the thing about having a bullet journal. It's very open organization. You can make it work for you if you want it to. Like again, you can make it very personalized. So that's how I track my goals, how I track my progress, my to-dos. This provides me more focus and more feedback, like immediate feedback. Like if I have a to-do list and I check it off, it's done, you know? So that's what I use for that. Another thing that I use, especially if you are learning anything or you have a project that you're working on, I did this with the Swift, with Shawnee's series. I actually did this. I have a project notebook. This is just a very simple ruled composition notebook. I like using Quad. So I've used this for learning Swift. I created my own code reference book for myself as I was building or as I was creating the videos. And I did basically the same thing for my app. So this is my app project notes. This is everything that, like when I first started, I wrote out my goal for the app. So I don't know if you can tell, but I actually wrote out the goals first. This is like pretty much the second page. Actually, no, it's the first page. So again, goals first for your app or the direction of your app. And then I broke it down. For my app, I did very loose, what do you call this, wireframes, and then kind of did a flow to kind of figure out how I was going to implement the first and most important feature of my app. So I worked that out, and then I actually write out my wireframes. I do it on paper. Again, I like quad ruled because it's really easy to measure things out, do squares and stuff. So it makes it really pretty. I know I know there's options to do this on online. I know there's software that you can use for this, but I like doing it really old school. I actually have templates that I bought for iPhone to actually create these. Another thing I used this for was to work out some code in here, my logic. I built out my models. I did my models that I needed to create. So I do it out on paper first, and then actually code it, because sometimes I change my mind. So I did my models or any structures that I needed to work through. I wrote it all in here. Another thing I use this for too is if I want to learn something in particular, I will put it in here and kind of work it out before I actually start coding, so I can kind of give myself an idea of what I want to achieve with the code that I find. For example, there was a code that I found that I wanted to implement into my app. So I used the example code, wrote out I kind of reverse engineered it to work for my app. Now it isn't entirely copied, it is reverse engineered, so it was some code I found on GitHub. And I just like, oh, that kind of works how I want it to, but I need it to work exactly for what I need to do. So I read through the code, all the files that, you know, had somewhat of the functionality that I wanted, and I made it work for me. So, and I keep it all in here because I will have to go back, actually have to go back and reattach some things that I broke when I did my refactor. So I did a huge refactor on my logic. And again, I found an algorithm to do what I needed it to do, but the thing is, it wasn't in Swift at all. I think it was in C, I think it was in Java, and I think it was also in Python. So I kind of looked at all the code that they did, and I actually used the C# code was exactly what I wanted to implement pretty much. But again, it's in C#, it's not in Swift. I worked out the algorithm in my own words, and then I did a to-do list on how to implement it. So again, everything that has to do with my app is in here. I have my to-do list of things I need to finish with my little red tab. So yeah, that's how I do things. So if the thing is like I said, if you are person who does best at learning stuff, you know, having stuff written down, I highly recommend you write things down because it's really easy to come back to it. Like, I can't tell you how many times I went back to my Swift notes that I wrote out for myself to remember how to do something, you know, to refresh my own memory of how the code works. And I'm pretty sure you can do this for any project that you want to work through your ideas, references to your ideas. It's all in one place, all bound, you know, and if you want to stick sticky notes in it, which I do, I actually put sticky notes in mine, you can make it your own. So that is what I'm using to get through this. And if you have an issue with goal setting, I highly recommend you watch a TED Talk I watched a couple of days ago. Even though I've used this process before, but not, the guy actually like narrowed it down into like really simple words, and I was like, oh, that's what I've been doing the whole time. Cool. So there's a TED Talk by John Dewar, and the name of the TED Talk is Why the Secret to Success is Setting the Right Goals. And his process is the OKR method, or setting OKRs, which is objective and key results. So basically, your objective or your goal has to be very clear, has to be in line with your values, and has to be very concrete. So basically, the objective is the what. So what do you want to achieve? And the how are the key results. So in determining what the result is that you want from your goal, it will lead you to what you need to do to achieve that goal. And it is really good advice he gives. So I'm not going to go into really deep detail, but I highly recommend that you watch his video, take notes like I do, and use it to guide you. It is really simple, and he uses real world examples, personal examples, and then from the business side of things, using these goals. I think he said like Google uses it. I think Apple also used it back in the day. I think they probably still use it, but I was like, that is awesome. That is such a simple way of doing it. So I highly recommend you watch the TED Talk, take something out of it, use it. Hopefully it works for you, has worked for me, and we'll go from there. All right, till next time, we'll chat later. Bye.